Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with a community showdown between Hayden's Phone and Lynn. So it should be quite a bit of fun. It's going to be Archon, the more often than not chosen these days, facing off against ye old Grom the Paunch. So certainly some very scary lords. And Archon is one of the few out there that, with a little bit of magic support via the Flaming Sword of Ruin, really can get through that Paunch pretty effectively. So should be interesting to see. Now, very, very unique army here from the Warriors of Chaos. We have a front line of Marauders, obviously, Marauders are Marauders. They're chaff units, they can fight the Goblins, have a good old time. But we're here with 4 chosen with halberds. Now, the halberds might seem a little bit strange here, but with the prevalence of stone trolls are quite common here. So are black orcs. So maybe the Warriors of Chaos here are going for like a middle ground. They're like, okay, let's get something that can fight stone trolls and black orcs and hope that maybe there's not too many black orcs, or there's a combination of black orcs and trolls, and they can find that sweet spot with the halberds being able to effectively deal with them. But pretty cool. Anytime you can see a neat build with a bunch of elite infantry, sign me up. It's always a good time. Archon the Ever-Chosen, Burning Head, Flaming Sword, Fireball, very standard kit. Looks like a couple Marauder Horsemen just to play the skirmish game, and it's always good to bring just some Horsemen, just so you're not completely at the mercy of the Greenskins. Because if you don't have any skirmishing elements, they can just cackle and poke you, and there's not much you can do about it. But yeah, it looks like 2 Horsemen and 2 Hounds and another Horseman here on the far side. Now for the Greenskin army, certainly has some, pretty decent tools here via the Rock Lobber, which can shoot the elite infantry. Grom the Paunch, the Orc Shaman has Brainbust, Edbutt, and Ere We Go. Now, it does not have a lot of armor piercing. Very meta in this matchup is Black Orcs and or Stone Trolls, but it looks like this build a little bit more designed to actually deal with Marauders and Spawn. Maybe he was expecting a Spawn rush, because this looks like it's very well equipped to deal with Spawn, right? You have chaff units to take the initial beating, Biggins to chop through them. Biggins also do very well against Marauders, and then Orc Airboys can drag down the Spawn and monsters, Dragon Ogres. You get it, right? So it seems like the build a little bit teched against Spawn, Shaggots, bigger threats, but that's not to say it can't deal with Elite Chosen. Grom the Paunch is pretty brutal. He can do that. Edbutts can do it if you overcast them, and a Volume of Fire from Orc Airboys certainly can as well. It's not the most optimized anti-chaos build, but it's, not without teeth. Anyways, here on the flanks, Forest Goblins get to be shooting in. Chosen are making their way downtown, not being shot quite yet. No, it looks like now the Trebuchet is going after the Chosen. Chosen are such cool models, man. I really cannot wait to see like the Chosen models that we get in the third game, or the elite variants for each faction. I would really actually like to see like the Nurgle ones modeled after the Putrid Blight Kings. I think those models are so incredibly cool. Now we get a Hound commitment here in the front. It looks like the Hounds are chasing down the skirmishers, but they got to be careful. These pigs smell the bacon. They're moving in, going after the Warhounds, and should be able to intercept them. Looks like the Hounds do countercharge. But with Grom the Paunch there, that is going to be a very one-sided affair. Granted, Archon going to be trying to get in there, maybe get a big Burning Head. Archon does do this sometimes, where he gets like a big blob on top of himself, and then from there he drops a Burning Head, etc., etc., live long and prosper. But Archon moving, it looks like he does take down a Orc Boar Boy. No, he doesn't. Gets a little bit caught up there. But the Fireball going down is going to be blasting the Orc Shaman. Looks like it is the second Fireball. It does some really good damage, obviously. Orc Shaman only has 30 armor. Has some Marauders and Hounds, and various other units are making their way in. Oh, it looks like a big Burning Head going to be coming in from Archie here, dropping down on the Orc Boys here, and Grom the Paunch, very metal, eating a shank of meat while his soldiers are roasted by a big Burning Head. Very thematic for sure. And the Burning Head will continue to go down the ranks, but it does miss the second Orc Airboy unit a little bit. Hounds on the other side do actually catch some of the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, or at least they were trying to retreat, and it looks like the Hounds did get the better of that engagement. And now the Marauders are in full effect here as Archon the Ever-Chosen does pile his way in. And the very slow Chosen, 28 speed, they are certainly waddling. They're not the quickest of lads. The Chaos Gods bless them with many things. Towering physiques, immense strength, but certainly not speed. And here Archon is a little bit surrounded. It looks like the Orc Boar Boys do get the Ere We Go, and as do the Goblins. And the Marauders, of course, taking the beating as expected. But now the Chosen are going to be coming in with full effect. Both sides have taken some casualties. Forest Goblin Spider Riders and Hounds on both sides have been kind of pushed back, and it looks like a big Edbutt going to be going down here. That was a nice one, although it didn't look to do too much damage. Now, the thing about Edbutt is if you don't overcast it, it actually has very pitiful armor-piercing value. So I think that Edbutt there wasn't overcasted, therefore it didn't really do that much damage, whereas had it been overcasted, I'm pretty sure it does really good damage. But Chosen here fighting, and you can see what I'm saying. Like, even though the Greenskin army doesn't have a ton of, heavy armor piercing, these Goblins plus the Orc Boar Boys and a little bit of support fire from the Daka here in the backfield have brought the Chosen down to a pretty low amount of HP. So honestly, a pretty nice little grind here. Now, Archon, it looks like he may have popped Slayer of Kings. No, he doesn't have it. So just Archon's raw damage there did get in on Grom the Paunch and do some really big work. And Grom, tried to retreat, but he did retreat into Chosen with great weapons. And despite the Scroll of Shielding and the regeneration, Most likely the lucky banner having already been popped. Grom the Paunch is getting the business here from Archie, and it looks like there is going to be some witchcraft going down, some fire magic up, Flaming Sword of Ruin once again, imbuing fire damage on the Chosen, putting their stats up to 80 melee defense and 51 weapons strength, so certainly very respectable. A little bit of light skirmishing here in the back as the Bacon Cavalry do charge into the Marauder Horsemen, and it looks like they're still wavering despite that. Obviously they're taking a lot of javelins to the face, but doing an okay job kind of fending things off. But it looks like Archon is certainly trying to put this game on his back. Here comes another Edbutt here, which would be very good, but I really think the Edbutts aren't being overcasted, which is a massive mistake. It does a lot more armor-piercing damage if you overcast it. But again, we'll check that after the game's over. So Archon here forcing back the Orc Shaman. Grom the Paunch has returned from his route, and the Chosen Halberds on this side seem to be doing pretty well. Obviously, the Orc Biggins really struggle to get through 120 armor and 56 melee defense, so the Chosen should be able to dominate most of these engagements and keep grinding. So one Chosen, full health, the other one's at about 24. These ones are quite beat up at 45, and these ones are pretty functional here at 53. So the Chosen are enduring pretty well. The lack of armor piercing here in the Greenskin army really is starting to show, but I think the biggest variable is the fact that Archon has defeated Grom the Paunch pretty handedly in combat several times. Although Archon looks like he might be on the receiving end here, as the Orc Boar Boys with the Wa as well as the Great Uns is here, charging in and taking a lot of HP off Archon, while, Gromgor Ironhide, as I was about to call him, but Grom the Paunch actually gets away. But if Grom were healthier, he could certainly be rear charging into Chosen. Despite the fact that he lacks armor piercing, he's still a very strong chariot and can deal with pretty much any form of infantry. But Archon pulls back. Balance of power is pretty even at this point, as the Wolf Riders do charge in, trying to hammer down the Horsemen, but they do also charge into Halberds. Going to be a little bit rough. Here comes the Fireball. Grom the Paunch has a lot of armor against Fireball, but he is weak to fire, and it puts him down to 435, really not doing that much damage. So Fireball typically is very lackluster against armor, but again, Grom the Paunch with the 22% fire weakness because of his regeneration does help quite a bit. So Grom breaks here, Chosen with Halberds pushing into the Orc Biggins. Balance of power for the first time of the game does go into the favor of the Champions of the Dark Gods, as the Chosen Halberds keep moving through the Greenskin ranks. Chosen here, of course, fighting Goblins, going to be a very decisive affair, and Archon, the Three-Eyed King, seems to be in pretty good shape. Yeah, he's rolling, man. He's got 1300 HP, he's enjoying life, probably rearing to cast another Burning Head, which would be quite good against a number of these targets here. Orc Arrow Boys appear to be positioning to try and shoot into the Chosen Halberds. Now, Archon the Ever-Chosen, and his Chosen. Very, very heavy metal. The only thing this build's missing is probably the Swords of Chaos, but Swords of Chaos, maybe against Greenskins they could have a weird niche. I mean, they have armor piercing and fire damage, which immediately makes them very good against Stone Trolls. That would actually be something to test. Against Black Orcs, of course, they have good stats as well, but they are also a very easy target for Greenskins to like mither and focus down, and Spirit Leech with their hags, which you normally see. Like I said, this Greenskin build is very, very off meta and probably is lacking many of the tools that actually make this a very, very favored matchup for the Greenskins. It's pretty rare that you see Chaos win. We did actually see Chaos win in the World Championship with Evenstar facing off against, I think that was against Showtime. Yeah, and he used Chaos Knights with Plague of Rust, which was very cool. But yeah, it was awesome seeing this build. Archon with 3,500, each of the Chosen getting close to 1,000 value, and also still fighting. It was really, really fun. I'd be curious to see how a build like this would do against like a traditional Black Orc, Stone Troll, Azag, Spirit Leech type build, which is really what you normally see. But overall, I really enjoyed seeing it. It was quite a bit of fun. So big thanks to Hayden for sending that in, and also thanks to Lynn for playing here with your glorious Grom the Paunch. So on that note, let's go ahead and check a couple things. Obviously, I'll give you guys a build that's slightly more optimal against the Warriors of Chaos, and we can go from there. And I haven't played Greenskins in like months, man. It's been probably like 4 months. But the last build I had, I was able to defeat like players who are way better than me, because I was on Greenskins and they were on Chaos, and we were able to get the win. So I think I have some idea here. Now, Edbutt, let's go ahead and check on Wurzag spells, and Edbutt is right here. It's a weak against armor, but let's load in real quick and just check this. I'm just gonna check and see if I'm pretty sure the Overcast does like obscene amounts of damage. I've seen it do really good against like Chaos Knights and heavily armored cavalry. And I think if it had actually been overcasted there, if memory serves, I actually think that he might have won the game. The Chosen might have just straight up died there because he got 2 beautiful casts. Lynn was able to nail them, but it just didn't seem to do any damage despite the fact that they were so tightly packed. So, all right, let's do this. We can just fast forward real quick. Edbutt's coming up here in a second, so we will see. Yeah, we can't quite afford it, so what is it? You can't afford to overcast it. I wish it would actually tell me how much it is. All right, so almost there. So yeah, overcast. So increased damage. Okay, so maybe it doesn't do... I mean, is there any armored units in this Beastman army we could like test it against? Yeah, it looks like it's mostly like Centaurs and things like that. We can actually jump in and do a test here against like some armor. So just bear with me, guys. We'll test it out. I could have sworn it does very, very good AP damage. So we're actually going to get Chaos. You know, it's the most pertinent example here. We'll go ahead and throw in a Chaos Sword and some Chosen. And we need something to like blob them up. So what we'll do is we'll just get like a Giant, so the Chosen blob up on it, and then we'll be good. All right. So let's test it out. We'll go ahead and do the Pillar of Bone. The Pillar of Bone, Pillar of Bone, Pillar of Bone. Yes, very small map, so we should be able to reach each other pretty quick. But yeah, this is a matchup I hadn't seen Chaos really do really well into until the World Championship, in which we saw Evenstar like really pull a huge upset. Like, he let himself get picked into that matchup too. He banned other things. I think he banned like Vampire Counts and something else. Can't quite remember, but anyways. All right, so let's test it out. I could be totally wrong on this, in which case, at least we're kind of solving that conundrum right now. But Overcasted Headbutt does increased damage. Overcasted Brainbuster does greater armor piercing damage. So that might even be the better choice. Well, we'll test both right now. Obviously, Foot of Gork's okay, but, you know, Chosen are probably slow enough that you could get away with it. Like, and it still would, you know, do its thing. All right, so let's move in on the Chosen here. Our boy Wurzag, who, I miss saying Wurzag, man. He's such a cool character. So let's get the Chosen nice and blobbed up. Then from there, we can go ahead and drop the big, juicy Headbutt. I'm not sure about the angle of this either, but I think this should be okay here. So let's go ahead and cast it like so. Let's get a little bit of a better angle. I think you need to be like a little bit further back so it kind of explodes at the tip like that. All right, here comes the Overcast on the Chosen with great weapons. You know, that did better damage, but it still seems to be pretty suboptimal. So we can fast forward a little bit more, let the Giant kind of do its thing, and then Overcast a Brainbuster right here, for example. This should do more damage, honestly. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, they more or less do similar damage, but yeah, still, had it been Overcasted, you could see it still did more damage, right? But all right, so now let's go ahead and look at the builds we were talking about. Yeah, I could have sworn it had additional AP when you do that, but I guess I was wrong. So yeah, I actually like Azag a lot against Chaos. Spirit Leech spam is really nasty against Archon. You can go Azag or Grom, honestly, and just, you know, but I like Azag with his item here. And just Spirit Leech, and then you can cut this, you can cut Foe Seeker, and you cut that just to make them like really cheap. From there, you can bring a Hag, and you just want the Hag to basically just have, you know, slow. If you want to, you can even get Spirit Leech on the Hag and have Azag have different spells. But with the Hag, what you can do is you can use Aspect of the Dread Knight. And what you do with this is you cast this on your trolls to give them leadership, and basically it makes them immune to psychology, right? So you want to max out on Blackworks. Obviously, tournament rules are allowed that many. From there, you want to get some like cheap DACA as well. You can get like Savage Orc Biggins, but obviously having a couple chaff units is nice, but the Blackworks really do just take things to Pound Town, right? Orc Airboys, definitely not bad. You can get like 4 of those. Aside from that, we have our casters set. You can get a little Goblin Big Boss and just put him on the Wolf, and from there you just get they need stabbing, so you can get like some nice kind of gooning attempts. You don't even honestly need to use Stone Trolls. There's a bunch of different ways you can play this, but we can get Skirmishers, maybe just like cut the Stone Trolls for now. I'm trying to remember the build I used. It was a while back, man. It's been a hot minute since I played these guys. Obviously, AP Cloonies are like an auto-include in every single build. You get a couple light Skirmishers, but yeah, like the Orc Airboys will focus on any big threats. You have the Forest Goblin Spider Riders to be obnoxious with and just give you like dual-purpose harass. And you can bring Squig Hoppers. Like, there's so many cost-effective like armor-piercing tools you have here, but really, Blackworks, Azag, Hag, you can Spirit Leech down the Chosen. Blackworks will trade well with Chosen. You can... You know, probably 3 archers is more than fine, to be completely honest. From here, you get a couple of these guys, just get like a little goblin. Like something like this is going to work totally fine. You'll win the skirmish game. You'll be able to chase things down. Azag can do a ton of work. You have the Hag for armor-piercing mass. If they go Shaggus and Dragon Ogres, you have a ton of missiles to focus them. If they go heavy infantry, you have Blackworks, Skulkers to help support, Spirit Leech, and a couple other things. You probably don't need the Hag as much if you're not going for the Stone Trolls. But if you want to go for the Stone Troll variant, you could just kind of go like this. And get the Stone Trolls here, and how can we actually afford that? Cut the Goblin, cut 1 DACA. Like, this would work really well, too. Like, you really only need 2 archers. I think this might even be a better build. It's a little bit light on infantry, but you don't have that much to protect, you know? It's mainly just the Hag gives the aspect of the Dread Knight here. You get crazy good armor piercing, good mass. They can help deal with Chaos Knights, too, and yeah, there's all sorts of ways you can go about it. You could use Grom, you could use Skarsnik. There's tons of choices. All right, my friends, hopefully you enjoyed. We'll see you next time, and yeah, take care.